Hello friends, this is Growl. The War Within expansion is coming soon, and with it comes a major change to each class, the hero talents. Once you set foot into the new zone and level up for the first time, you'll get to choose a path to follow that unlocks new abilities, passives, and sometimes even cool visuals. These hero talents can be swapped at any time that talents can be swapped at no extra cost, so it goes without saying throughout the expansion we'll be exploring these thoroughly. I've tested all the healers in beta and PvE, and in this video I'm going to rank the hero talent setups for every healer from least to most cool in my opinion. I've mainly been looking at the new talents that make the rotation more fun, give you some interesting choices to decide on, or at the very least have thematic and flavorful effects. And just a quick note, I'm going to be covering tons of healer related content on this channel, as well as doing live streams of all the high level dungeons and raids when the game releases, so don't forget to subscribe. So in last place I have Druid. Druid's two hero talent setups are Keeper of the Grove and Wild Stalker. Keeper of the Grove is the Moonkin Restoration hybrid tree, and its talents involve buffing your Grove Guardians. This ability was introduced during Dragonflight. It's a summon with up to 3 charges that you activate to help heal your allies in combat. Keeper reduces the cooldown of these charges and add bonus healing to the trees, even gives them the ability to do a little bit of damage for you. This also buffs your other direct healing spells, things like Swift Mend, Regrowth, and Wild Growth. This is like the on-demand healing playstyle that's sort of common at the end of Dragonflight. The second hero talent tree is the Feral Restoration hybrid Windstalker. This gives your offensive and defensive abilities the chance to create an additional hot or dot. It's a vine that either deals bleed damage or heals your allies. Unlike the Keeper of the Grove tree, the passives in this tree buff many of your healing over time effects, so like your Life Bloom and your Rejuvenation and your F-Flow. This is a bit more of a slower paced playstyle that puts more weights in your hots. This would be like the classic Resto Druid stuff that many people have come to know and love over the years. On top of that, right now, all these effects really heavily buff your damage, making Wild Stalker a good choice if you're trying to burst a lot as a healer. I know it sounds good, but I ranked it last. Why? Because I don't really like these decisions. I feel like they're not going to be decisions. The whole point of the Druid class is you're combining the long heal over time effects with the short bursts of healing when necessary. You have to use both types of skills depending on the situation no matter what. So which tree are you going to end up choosing? Well, it's very likely that a huge portion of people are just going to look up a guide and pick whichever one does the most healing, since there's so many different random passive buffs. Almost no parts of the tree really change the way you play your character, other than like a few small procs. The tree just doesn't feel different enough. Neither one has unique visuals or sounds, at least not that I noticed. They don't really change your gameplay or rotation. It's just a small little passive, random things on different abilities. I guess I can see some people enjoying these because of the 2 different play styles, but it really feels like as a druid, I'm probably just gonna look up what does the most healing, then forget it by the first season. Next after druid, we have Paladin. My preferred hero talents with Paladin is the Holy Ret hybrid, which is Herald of the Sun. This empowers some of your abilities with Dawn Light, which do extra damage or healing that radiates from the target that you apply it to. When you activate your main cooldown, Avenging Wrath, you shoot out additional Dawn Lights and then also become linked to them. This increases their damage and their healing, and also even does damage and healing when mobs or allies pass through the beams. This makes your wings feel like a really powerful cooldown. Not only are all your spells buffed, but you can like visually see these beams of light extending from out you. This is where the fun ends though, because the other tree, the Prot Holy hybrid, it's called Lightsmith. It's much more boring. So it gives you this new ability, Holy Armaments. It rotates between a weapon and a shield. When you use it, it buffs yourself and a nearby ally. The shield gives you like a 15% health absorb shield that slowly ramps up a little bit. And the weapon simply just like adds splashes of AoE damage and healing. Because of the fairly like weak and random effect combined with no mana cost and a short cooldown, basically the way that you're gonna play this is just every time it's up, you're just gonna spam it on cooldown. There is a small visual effect when the bulwark is being cast or the weapons, but it's nothing crazy. Personally, I'm not a big fan of buttons that you just press every time they come up. They're not very interesting and kind of like bloat the playstyle. WoW already has so many keybinds, but it doesn't really like ruin the gameplay or make anything less fun. That being said, the weapons do actually a pretty big chunk of damage. If you enjoy the heavy DPS playstyle as a healer, this could be the tree for you. You're using your weapons, doing a bunch of damage. You can use the shield bulwark on your tank to keep him topped so that you can deal even more damage. It's just something that I really didn't resonate with. Next on this list, I'm going to put Monk. Very similar to Paladin, it has one tree that I think is pretty cool and another tree that leaves a little bit to be desired. Conduit of the Celestials is the Windwalker Mistweaver hybrid that gives you access to a new major cooldown ability. Celestial Conduit is what it's called. It radiates an absolute ton of healing to your party. You like meditate into the air, into this like trance-like state. The visual is super cool, and I'm always a fan of channeled spells that let you move while you're casting them. Mistweaver is definitely a class that you're healing through your DPS and your fist weaving, but sometimes like damage intake is just too high and you can't keep up, or it's like really dangerous situation and it's hard to be in the fray to get your abilities off. Celestial Conduit is like the perfect answer. It allows you to reposition, to reset, to figure everything out while you're just constantly healing your team. The other hero talent tree is like just basically a ton of passives. It's called Master of Harmony. This stores healing from all of your abilities. Then when you use Thunder Focus T, it slowly releases it to boost your healing. Unless I'm missing something, there's not really like much that you do to play around it. It just kind of like stores all the healing you do, then you press Thunder Focus T and it dishes it out. I guess you can decide to like hold your T for, you know, oh no, let's wait for a little bit of damage, but it feels kind of lame because Thunder Focus T is such a fun button to press anyway. I don't really want to have to hold that. Overall, I guess I just didn't really like notice or feel anything when I was playing the tree. It didn't feel like it did that much healing or was that impactful. I'd imagine it's just not really going to be played unless the numbers are tuned like way up. That being said, I don't think having a completely passive tree with no keybinds or anything is like a bad thing. You know, if you don't want to worry about the hero talents, you just want to like play your class, get a grasp on it, then this is fine for you. So in third place, I have Evoker. And this is where the hero talents really start to ramp up, get interesting and diverse. So the Devastation Preservation hybrid is called Flame Shaper. This gives you a new ability called Engulf. It's a big instant cast burst healing spell that can be used as damage or healing. And the effect of the ability is increased for each heal or damage over time effect on the target. This synergizes in a really fun way with Echo, because Echo allows you to place multiple copies of the same heal over time effect on somebody. So you can have 2 copies of Reversion, 2 copies of Dream Breath, and then pop the Engulf doing triple healing. The Evoker's kit is notoriously short of like easy to use single target burst healing. So I think this hero talent setup is going to be really good in situations where you need that little extra kick, you feel like you need that big heal. The other side, paired with augmentation, is called Chrono Warden. This one has multiple passives on your abilities that add up to actually a pretty cool playstyle. So first, Tip the Scales becomes a very strong 2-minute cooldown. When you press it, it gives you a surge of haste, cooldown recovery, and movement speed. And whenever you cast an empowered spell while this is rolling, you also buff a nearby ally. You give them a chance to echo their damage and do more damage. So this like sort of turned the tides on like a really scary pull. Not only are you pressing it and juicing your healing and damage, but you're also buffing your allies. Lastly, there's a very important passive node in here. It reduces the cooldown of all empowered spells by 6 seconds. Considering the cooldown of these is pretty short, combined with some of the other cooldown talents like reduced Spirit Bloom or stuff from Temporal Anomaly or Flow State, you turn into like this absolute machine of just huge Spirit Blooms, huge Dream Breaths, machine gun out like back to back. I would say a Flame Shaper is like the single target tree. Chrono Warden is definitely like the party healing AoE juicer heal tree. As a runner-up for the coolest hero talents, I want to put Resto Shaman. I've been playing probably the most Resto Shaman of any healer on the beta right now, so I have a lot to say about these trees. So first is Farseer. This is the Elemental Restoration hybrid tree. It's similar to Flame Shaper for Evoker in that it's like the single target heal tree. Your single target heals proc these spirits that fight alongside you. They attempt to cast similar spells to you, you know, depending on if you're casting just basic stuff, not like replicating your major cooldowns or anything. Visually, it looks cool, like you're just building up this army of ancestors. And then when someone dips low and you're using like a big healing surge and you see all your other ancestors surging into that person too, you just like top their health bar instantly with one big spell. On top of that, the playstyle is really mana efficient and good for pugs. Shaman historically relies on healing rain and chain heal, which can be really frustrating if your teammates want to stand in Africa during the boss fights and don't want to stay grouped up. This sort of lets you just say, screw it, I just want big, chunky, single, strong heals. and then you can just get through the dungeon and not have to worry about your having your team stacked. On the other hand, if your team is stacked and you do want to blast those healing rains, then Totemic Shaman is definitely the tree for you. So this turns Healing Rain into like a supercharged version of it. So it doubles the duration of Healing Rain, it increases how much healing it's doing, and it also makes it instant cast. It turns it into a totem. Many of the passive nodes on the tree also buff your chain heals and then allow your totems to like bounce chain heals and do extra chain heals when you place them. This creates a ton of this like passive party group healing going around all of your spenders. You really get the ability to just like push your total party's health bar up quickly if everyone takes a lot of burst damage, but at the cost of way more mana than using your single target heals because you're pressing this big healing rain, you're pressing your chain heals. Remember, there's so many talents in the spec tree that juice up your rain and your chain heals, so your timing and decision making for when you start to spend your mana and use these will actually feel like it has a really big impact. And as my favorite hero talents of the expansion so far, we have Priest. Priest technically has 2 specs, so there's 3 total trees. I know it's cheating a little bit, but I really think they went for just unique, interesting ideas for all these trees. The hero talent shared between Holy and Disc is called Oracle. Oracle's trademark ability is called Premonition. It gives you a buff to your healing that rotates each time you use it. Unlike the armaments from the Paladins though, the abilities actually make you think and change the way you play. So for example, one of the buff reduces the cooldown of your next 3 abilities by 10 seconds. This can combo in like a bunch of different weird ways. Like as a Holy Priest, you could use it and then just put out Prayer of Mending 5 times in a row on your whole party. Or as a Disc Priest, you can build up a big ramp and then just go Penance, Penance, Penance right back to back and just do an insane amount of healing. Another one of the buffs is called Piety. This increases your healing done, but most importantly, it makes any overhealing that you do get redistributed to other allies. This means you just pedal to the metal floor, blast healing on whatever target you want. You just don't even care, and it just all sort of goes to the right place. It's insanely cool. Like if you're holy and you're pairing it with something like Guardian Spirit, you can just do an absolute ton of healing. It would take so long to go over every single node in this tree. Just know that it is just a really cool tree. There's so many different abilities and passives. Really makes you think twice about the way that you're playing your guy. The Holy Shadow tree is called Archon. This turns your halo into a just big healing and damage cooldown. So it basically radiates the halo from you back and forth. It pulses out and then back in, and it sends out multiple halos instead of just one. So this means not only getting a bunch of healing, but also every time the halo passes through your party, it increases the healing that they receive. So you're getting more and more powerful as these halos radiate out from you. It's definitely like more of a simple and passive tree where you're not really changing too much, but ultimately it's still just like boosts one of your abilities, creates a new spin on it, and it feels like it's, you know, kind of a choice that you're making. And the Discipline tree is called Void Weaver. Void Weaver adds a special effect to your Mind Blast. It creates this entropic rift that follows the target when you use Mind Blast, dealing AoE shadow damage, and it can slow as well. Visually, this thing just looks so cool. It also gives you a nice, more consistent like burst heal for dungeons, since Mind Blast is only a 20-second cooldown. When your rift is active, it also upgrades your Smite into Void Blast, sending these like shadow beams into your target. It has its own sound. It deals bonus damage and healing. Overall, it's just like a really cool feeling ability. It doesn't change a lot gameplay wise, but it just like feels mega cool, and it's the absolute definition of a hybrid, like, you know, healing priest but using shadow magic. The priest talents are like exactly what I think hero talents should be for each class. You know, one very interesting choice that changes a lot of things, and really, you know, if you want to spice things up, you play. And then alternatively, just something else that has either some cool visuals or just like changes your current abilities in a cool way. But yeah, that's it. That wraps up my list of my favorite hero talents going into the War Within. I'm interested to hear what you guys are looking forward to the most coming into this upcoming expansion. Let's see if my predictions play out. You know, we're still in the beta, so we don't know what's going to be good, but I think I have a pretty good feeling for these trees. Also, don't forget to stay tuned for more PvE healer previews, both for Mythic Plus and for Raid, as well as guides going into the new expansion. Happy keying, friends.